One Piece is back, chapter 1112. And we're officially back. Not officially. But you get what I'm saying. It's been a while. Hope you guys have been okay. I gave like a hype video yesterday just talking about what could happen in this chapter. Well, some of my fears got realized. I'm not mad about it. It's just, I think it was handled better than I thought. Not gonna lie. But good chapter. I enjoy this chapter more than most for reasons, which I'll get into. We gotta start with the cover story. Cover story is back and it is Yamato and Kinemon. Kinemon is giving Yamato a parting letter and he has a favor. Now, what is that favor? I don't know. People are speculating that Yamato is leaving Wano. I'm like, no. I think she's leaving where Kinemon is and she's about to go on her voyage, her pilgrimage throughout Wano. She's not leaving Wano. That'd be crazy. And Yamato, the cover story in Wano, we get it, and she's about to leave Wano. No, I think what happens is Yamato, we're going to see her journey throughout the country of Wano. And then at the end, I'm expecting something major because the cover story has to have a purpose. The last few cover stories, they've had purpose. Even the Kuma cover, not even a cover story, it was a cover art request that tied into the actual manga chapter. It was insane. It was Kuma and Ginny, and they were fishing. That was a cover art request. It was insanity. So Oda, a lot of these cover stories, I think they're going to be hard hitting going forward. And I think this one is going to be the same as well. Now, Yamato with the hearts, I'm like, Kinemon's he already got a wife. What are we doing? What are we doing? Yamato, you chill out. I'm interested to see where this is going to go, but let's get to the chapter. So there's going to be moments. I'm not going to document everything that happened. Okay. I know some people sometimes complain about that, saying you didn't talk about this. You didn't talk about this. Some things I think just don't need talking about. Like, we read it, we come to the same conclusion. It's pretty straightforward. So there are going to be different things that I focus on because I think those things need to be broken down and expressed, and they're super subjective. So these are things we may feel differently about, and those are the things I focus on, and that's what we're going to do. Now, Mars talks about Bonnie, that she's just a 12-year-old little girl, and he basically called Vegapunk foolish, saying he's insolent for giving Bonnie, a 12-year-old child, all that power by controlling the Pacifisto. Anybody that looks like Kuma, anything that looks like Kuma, she can control. I presume S-Beer as well, but I digress. Let's focus on what Venus. It's been a month. Sorry. Let's focus on what Venus said. Venus says that Vegapunk is foolish. Is Venus Jura correct? Yes. Vegapunk is foolish for giving a 12-year-old girl that much power. That much where she can terrorize countries? Yes. That is insane for a 12-year-old girl. However, you cannot say that. Venus Juro? Are you crazy? You're the person, well, you're one of the people, one of the reasons why Vegapunk felt the need to do something like that. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and Vegapunk was put in a situation where he felt like this is something I have to do considering what you guys are willing to do. He didn't want to give her that power. He said he didn't want to tell her until she was older. He said that. But because of the Gorosei, because of the world government, because of the situation where you were trying to force a robot that looked like her dad or cyborg, whatever you want to say, to kill the daughter, you guys left Vegapunk with no choice. And with that being said, you cannot criticize it. Right message, wrong freaking messenger. Okay, what are we talking about? This dude is insane. When Twitter Giant said that there's some scary looking guys had just arrived, I presume there were some new people coming to that island. I'm gonna assume that at the end they got packed up by Venus Juro. That's who they were talking about. I'm gonna wait and see with that. Maybe I just gotta reread it again to understand exactly what's going on there. I'm like, is Oda trying to hype? But typically when Oda does something like that, he shows a silhouette or something. So I don't know. I'm not sure with that one. You guys can give me your thoughts on that. That's one I was really a bit shaky on. I thought it was interesting. There were comments about the Vice Admirals, saying the Vice Admirals continue to be trash. And you're right, they do. They are absolutely ass, okay? They're bad. The Vice Admirals, at the end of the day, as a whole, as a group, you have your standouts clearly, but as a group, they consistently underwhelm. Not even my counter, making sense of this, because some people just completely hate the faction in general. I mean, in the One Piece story, in the One Piece community, people have kind of divided it into factions. You like the Yonko, you like the Marines, and it's like, I don't want to like anything about the Marines, which I think is insane to view the story. For the Vice Admirals, at the end of the day, everybody can't win. They are not the main characters. They are not the focus of the story. They aren't even the main antagonists from the Marines. So for the Vice Admirals, they are the necessary sacrifice for these characters. And they have enough where they're relevant enough where these characters get the boost that they need, the moments that they need. This is Frankie's moment, right? Where he just took out a Vice Admiral. Frankie just beat and did his thing to a Vice Admiral, and Bonnie doing her thing. The Vice Admirals, and shout out to my boy Sai. I know he's somewhere not loving this chapter at all because his loved and beloved Vice Admirals, they're not looking so good. I'll talk to my boy though. Necessary sacrifices. One that wasn't necessary was Smoker. Conversation for another day. Let's talk about Mars. He's so angry. I look at it as this guy, they messed up. Mom is about to come home, which is Emu, and we're trying to clean it up before Mom figures it out. That's what's happening here. And Mars, he's destroying everything. He's like, bro, I'll just destroy it all. And York is like, hold on, you don't want to do that. That's kind of crazy. Where for York, I think the punks die if anything happens to Egghead or Punk Records, because I think that's what's alive, essentially. I think she's protecting her own interest because she is greed, right? And so her being so concerned was odd until I was like, okay, if he destroys everything there, then York probably dies. So I think she's trying to protect her own interests with that. Now, Mars, I think York fooled him. There's a moment at the end of the chapter, of course, we'll talk about that, but York, how the panel is drawn and York knowing her nature and how she's been throughout the arc, it seems like she's leading him to a trap, saying, oh, there's this new Denden Mushi, you can just go there. Here's the entrance. Don't worry about it. I'm skeptical. I don't trust York. And Mars, he seems very angry. It's understandable. He hasn't done anything in like 800 years, okay? They've been sitting there on top of that rock, on top of the Red Line in Pangaea Castle. Like, they just have meetings all day, probably go play with the concubines after they're done, shoot some hoops, play some tennis, watch some Denden Mushi, read some Sora comics, and that's their day every single day. This is the most excitement they probably had since Sabo. And then before Sabo, when that giant went to marry Joao and the Fishman got some rights. I think they like when shit go wrong because that's when they can meet and like, yo, what are we gonna do? I remember when they had a meeting before and it was like, yo, Crocodile just got taken out. Yo, Shanks is making a move. He about to meet Whitebeard. We gotta do something. Like, what are you gonna do? You can replace Crocodile, but like with Shanks meeting Whitebeard, what are you gonna do? They just meet, you know? For Mars, this is essential, man. He hasn't probably done this in a long time. So he's just ready to destroy everything. Before we move on from this York moment, just something she said, talking about racking up more sins and their relationship being troubled. Interesting dialogue. I'm interested to see what the official says, but I'm also wondering if she's talking about the Gorosei and her turbulent relationship with them, because we know how they've gone back and forth and she's trying to get on their good side because she's like, I know how to stop this. Of course I know. You know, we have a turbulent, tumultuous relationship. I'm trying to figure it out. Or it could mean something else. So give me your thoughts on that. That was something that was, even when I was reacting, link below, people were iffy about it. So Stussy, it seems like she has come to terms with the fact that she's going to kill herself or die, or she's okay with dying for Vegapunk. She's basically subservient to Vegapunk, so I get it. I didn't mind the dialogue with her and Kaku. That was cool. Kaku's always interesting to listen to because he's very astute. He's shrewd. So I always enjoyed Kaku's dialogue. He has Straw Hat in him. The goofiness, the personality, out of all the CP9 members, feels like a straw. I felt like a Straw Hat. Either way, tangent. I appreciate what Stussy is trying to do. She wants her Bankure moment. She can have her Bankure moments. Again, for some of these characters, we're not sure what the future holds for them. Like, what's next? Like, does Stussy continue living and just showing up randomly in the story? Maybe. But if she dies here, it's of no significance because she's fulfilled her role, essentially. Because she's lived so long, we assume she's been alive for a minute and she's been the clone of Miss Bakken. You can, again, complete her character arc if one is necessary for her in flashback. So I'm not upset if Stussy dies. Let it be significant, which I think it will be if the Straw Hats escape. Worm Man, he has the sucking skills of a vacuum and he is sucking everything in and it is insane. Even the giants are being affected. And so he is a monster if you've never seen one before. Now, Luffy put a stop to that. Over and over, Jupiter does something cool and then he looks stupid. I don't know, but the Gorosei, they're just continuously getting shown up. I think, honestly, they've looked impressive this chapter. They look like dominant forces, considering who they're up against as well. They're up against the Straw Hats in Gear 5. They look good. What I mentioned at the beginning, saying there's something that I thought could happen that I didn't want to happen, happened. And that's Luffy going out of Gear 5. We know there's 1 minute left. So Luffy's been fighting for a little while. And we know Gear 5 has a time limit. He just ate a bunch of food, but it uses up a lot of energy. And Oda is going to consistently and constantly play that card because it's drumming up the tension. In this moment where he runs out of Gear 5, they give him food and he goes right back into Gear 3rd. Going into Gear 3rd is crazy because Gear 3rd isn't necessarily a form. It's just an attack, a segment of attack. It's just Luffy just turning his fist large. The focus here, though, is what happened after Luffy went to Gear 3rd, where Luffy used Red Rock on War Curie. There's a huge debate now about Luffy and his competence as a fighter, or for the plot, the things that are happening. Authors write what they write. They draw things and we interpret them how we can. The intent, the interpretation could be different. In this instance, the intent is to show that the Gorosei are really durable and that they're strong. Hey guys, they're strong. The interpretation is, guys, Luffy's dumb. He's dumb. Why people are saying that is that Luffy used something like Red Rock against Warcury, touching him, even though we had an entire arc of him learning moves to not touch people and bypass durability. How would Luffy know about that and the durability of Warcury? Who knows? But the debate now is, what is Red Rock? Is it Advanced Conquerors? Is it Rio? Is it a both? So here's the thing with Red Rock. Red Rock is advanced armament, but it's not advanced conquerors. It's not imbued in advanced conquerors. So it touches. I believe for Luffy, if he had imbued it with advanced conquerors, it wouldn't have touched him. He wouldn't have felt the effects of it. I think the complaints are invalid. This doesn't bother me at all. It's just like Luffy did a significant attack because Red Rock put Kaido down. Why wouldn't he put a Gorosei down? Well, this guy is pretty durable. Someone had mentioned that boars are typically very durable at the top of their heads. So maybe in that specific spot, he can't be hurt. And something for Warcury, he has shown manipulation of not only his tusks, now his head. So that could be a strength of his that Luffy just doesn't understand how to deal with it. I think this is much ado about nothing. That wasn't the purpose of this moment. It wasn't to show that, oh my God, Luffy's incompetent. Luffy's not. No, it's to show that the Gorosei are really strong. It's not to provide a dissection of Luffy's battle IQ, which I've talked about before, saying it's not the best. He just outlasts everyone and he figures it out eventually. But Luffy does a lot of dumb things when he's fighting, like a lot, because of how much durability and endurance he has. He lasts long enough to figure it out. He ultimately wins, which is battle IQ. He does cool stuff as well while he fights, but the positives outweigh the negative. In this instance, what are we talking about? The focus should be on the Gorosei and the fact that, bro, he's able to withstand a very pertinent attack from Luffy. That is insane. When Luffy's hands are throbbing, he's just like Katakuri. I had to throw that in there. This is what I gotta say. Then we gotta move on. Warcury, the Gorosei, they have special traits, each of them. Try to stay within those moments and not try to compare it to anything else without us having all the information, because I saw people now putting Warcury over Kaido. Saying, well, Red Rock put Kaido down. Let's calm down a little bit, okay? We do this all the time. Super reactive. Give it some time. Venus Juro had probably the best panel in the chapter, with him looking like a straight monster, like a ghost, like a demon. And this is what I mentioned at the beginning. He took out the giants. Are they the same giants? I don't know. Is it separate? It doesn't seem like the same giants because I only see one of them, but he took out multiple. It's weird to say. I'm going to say it's not the same and that there could be somebody else coming to the island. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think about that. There was a lot happening in this chapter. There's really a lot going on. In the midst of talking about it, the person that's closest to him that's on the way there is Sanji. Interestingly enough, we're going to get Sanji versus Venus Juro and then Zoro versus Mars. So not the matchups we wanted. I just want to clash. I also pointed out the size of Venus Juro's blade because we know he's pretty large, right? That sounds crazy, but we know he's pretty large. And look at the size of the blade. Once Zoro gets that blade, presumably, we're going to see if that blade shrinks like Enma, because I think that's hilarious. How the scaling of One Piece varies chapter to chapter. Just something funny. Mars took York's advice, entered Punk Records, and well, he sees something. Something is gurgling. Somebody's saying that the brain is alive. Vegapunk's brain is actually alive. I think it's the brain, but also think something is protecting the brain. Like Vegapunk is too five-head to not take measures, bro. Vegapunk is very smart. The measures are in place. So Mars, yes, he's walking up to this thing and it's something gurgling. I don't know. It's honestly disturbing. And it's a chapter. He's looking at something, the shadows over his eyes, the dark lines. What is it? What is it? I don't know. This goes back to me and York. I think York could have set him up, because maybe this has nothing to do with the transmission, because the transmission is going to happen. That's just a huge plot point that has to play out. So he's not going to be able to stop it. Something is either protecting it or York was setting him up. Like, this has nothing to do with it. So, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't trust York because I'm familiar with her game. So there's that. Guys, we've gone on long enough. Give me your thoughts. There's a lot of things I want to talk about in this chapter specifically that we will get to. Luffy's fighting style with Red Rock and all the different stuff, and why it's significant or why it's not. Luffy's battle IQ, breaking that down. How can you not be happy? One Piece is back, baby. Again, one of the chapters that he had to do a bit of thinking, piecing things together, character motivations. It's not super significant, but I enjoyed the nuance in this chapter. It wasn't straightforward. There was a lot of nuance, even going back to Red Rock, which I think it's always a discussion with things like that, but I enjoyed that. Like, subscribe. Catch you in the next one. Peace.